Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit dominated in Ottawa in what may have been the most lopsided performance of the season.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, who is back. He got his power back. We love to see it. He lives, and he gets to do his first episode back, breaking down an embarrassing loss in a must-win game to the Ottawa Senators. Aren't you so lucky?
I'm so lucky, man. I was so pumped to have power. I'm so glad. Obviously, I haven't been staying at my place. It's been 40 degrees in here. And it's so funny to come back. There's finally heat and electricity's working. Red Wings play, Tigers play. It's a bit, I know it's spring training and it's not even close to the same magnitude, but a lot in my world going on all at once tonight. And then a period and a half into the Red Wings game, Brian just goes, "Welcome back," as the Red Wings blow 2 leads in the span of 8 minutes.
Yeah, so you are definitely the highlight of my day because there's about nothing to go over that is good in this Red Wings game.
I'm honored. What a privilege. What a compliment.
It's a very, very low bar to step over, and they couldn't do it. So congratulations, Scotty. You're the number one star in this podcast. Bunch of backhanded compliments flying your way.
Yeah, right. That's great, dude.
No, but seriously, I'm really glad you're back because I wouldn't have wanted to recap this game solo. So, I had to do 2 episodes without you. So if you feel the need to do the bulk of this episode, go right ahead, carry the workload. If you feel obligated after shoving the workload,
like it, of course, but
only if you want.
Yeah, right.
Don't let the last fool you. I'm really pissed off.
Yeah.
Because
it was a very frustrating hockey game.
I did a 50-minute crossover with Locked On Senators talking about how this was an imperative back-to-back in Ottawa. And I knew what the Senators were. I knew that the metrics said they were a much better team than the results were relaying at that point. They talked about why they were so far down in the standings. But I expected the Red Wings, after beating the New York Rangers and not just outplaying, but dominating the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they just got goalied by Andrei Vasilevsky, to come out with a chip on their shoulder and want the win in a must-win game. And instead, they laid an egg. And I know this ice was tilted from the start of the game as far as reffing goes, and we'll get into the reffing because that was and they've been a victim. I didn't even talk about it after the Rangers lost, Scotty, in regards to the cross check and all the missed calls, because I was so pumped they won. I totally forgot. But the reffing has been so irredeemably inconsistent, and it feels, and I am not one to normally blame the reffing. Some of the calls Red Wings had against them were earned, but the reffing was horrible. But the Red Wings themselves didn't do themselves any favors by coming out soft in this game. The Senators were flying at you, just wrecking balls into the corner, and you did not respond. And then the defense letting up, I counted at least 6 breakaways in this game. This was like I said in the cold open, it has to be the most lopsided game the Red Wings have played all season long. And I know that there's a recency bias going on here, and I know they've had some really big losses. But the reason I say that in this case is this was such an important game, and I know they have another game against the Ottawa Senators tomorrow to try and get 2 points. But this was such an important game. To come out and play so flat is embarrassing, and I'm really upset.
Yeah, I think that's all definitely justified. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it was the most. It was definitely one of the most lopsided in one regard, and that's just when it comes to physicality, as you kind of alluded to there. It was blatantly obvious. It was. I can't even find an adjective to accurately describe how preposterous it was, and it was consistent. It was from the get-go. It was from puck drop. We had big hits, right? Like a minute, 30 seconds into the game, we had big hits, and it was very clear very early on that Ottawa's game plan was to lay you out and just try to destroy you and break your will. And they absolutely did that. 100% game plan succeeded. It worked. And we've talked about this before. We talked about this when the Wings, well, honestly, against a few different teams. I remember talking about the Reeves game, right? And how that didn't really go the Wings' way either for the exact same reason. And it seems to be a really, I don't know if I want to call it easy, but it's a very, very blatant tactic that opposing teams can circle and go, hey, if we can just out physical them and just out hit them and really be some bruisers, we're going to handily win this game because they cannot respond whatsoever. And I think that, to your point of lopsidedness, this game, maybe more than any other game this season, the only one I can even think of that would come close to it is the Brian Reeves game. It was on full display. If you hit the Wings hard enough, they're not gonna hit you back. And definitely, again, like we'll talk about Jake Walman, like he had some a gritty performance, I guess you'd say. But I the reffing, yes, it seemed disproportionately ticky-tacky for us and not as much for Ottawa. And I totally agree with that. And I was very upset with some of the calls too. But my biggest takeaway from this game is still the same that it has been on several other occasions this season. If you run into a team more physical or extremely physical, the Wings really have no shot.
Well, and that leads me to two things. Well, one, the hits were actually pretty darn even in this game, 34-31. But Mickey Redmond on the broadcast brought up something really interesting. It's like, how come we have quality? Hits. He's like, we have quality shot attempts and quality shots, and we don't have quality hits, because that's such a huge thing too. Is, a lot of the times Red Wings were getting hits, it was them finishing a play, but Ottawa was straight up taking runs at Red Wings players after they had already gotten rid of the puck, after they had already passed it away, and the rest were letting it go, and they were laying out big hits, heavy hits. The hits the Red Wings were laying out were just bog standard hits, it felt like, most of the time. I didn't see one big hit by a Detroit Red Wing in this game. And where was Ben Sherratt in this? The one thing he did, the one notable play he made in this game was the charging penalty, which, again, I thought was ticky-tacky because Ottawa had been taking runs at you the entire game. There was one hit Gustav Lindstrom had taken early. That was a clear charge they didn't call. By the way, 7 charging calls in the NHL this year. 2 of them have been in the Red Wings in the last 2 weeks, because Rasmussen got one. I tweeted this literally right as Sherratt got the penalty, not knowing Sherratt got the penalty, as I remember when Rasmussen got a charging penalty 2 games ago. But that again, reffing, you got out-physicaled. Absolutely. You got bullied in this game.
And that bullied is the way to describe it. You got absolutely bullied and dragged around the ice for 60 minutes, and you had no response.
That caused the Red Wings to play scared, I felt like. It caused the Red Wings to, when they felt the slightest amount of pressure, to just wring the puck out. And like, we'll talk about defensively, the lapses, offensively, the inability to get anything going. But you know who I felt was really missed as a presence in this game, Scotty?
Are you going to say who I think you're going to say?
Michael Rasmussen.
Oh, yeah, true.
You needed were you thinking I was going to say Verana?
No, it's not important. I thought you were going to say Giovanni Smith. It's okay.
No, sorry, Scotty. Michael Rasmussen brings a physical edge.
The more size that you're not that is not able to play, the more you're missing out on in a game like this. And they desperately, as we've said a million times already, desperately needed any edge they could get in the physicality department. And having Rasmussen's size certainly would have helped that a little bit.
I'm losing Rasmussen out indefinitely, as Lalone says. There's going to be week to week, but you won't see him anytime soon. We don't really know what's wrong.
It's a weird comment.
It is, and he's not on the IR, which is really bizarre. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but it's just really frustrating because you immediately saw the impact. Not that Michael Rasmussen's a bruiser, but he gets in the corners, he lays hits, he's very physical, and he wins those corner battles. And that's something the Red Wings didn't do this game. So you instantaneously saw the missing presence of Michael Rasmussen on the ice in this hockey game. And it was right after he set a career high too. No one talked about that. I feel like nobody mentioned it besides me, that Michael Rasmussen hit a new career high in points. In that, it was because it was happening in that game against the New York Rangers. So everyone was riding high on that. 29 points now in 50 whatever games. 25 less games than last season, and he broke his career high.
Career
And then,
year.
of course, he gets injured immediately.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. We'll continue this conversation coming out of the break. But first, I got to talk to you guys today about Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat that won't let you down like the Red Wings, you got to check out Built Bar. We just made it through the holidays, and guys, you're at the point now, March right around the corner. Your New Year's resolutions, they're not resolutions anymore. You either have stuck with them and they're part of your daily habit, or they're gone. But regardless, you should be incorporating Built Bars into your diet. Why? Because they're only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of protein, while covered in 100% real chocolate. They're so good that you won't even believe you're eating a protein bar. They taste like a candy bar, and they got some amazing flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. And, previously, Scotty, you used to always have to go to built.com to get a Built Bar. But that's just not the case anymore, is it?
It's not, man. Walmart, Sam's Club, 4-bar boxes, 13-bar boxes. We're balling, baby.
They're absolutely balling. But at Walmart, you can get a cookies and cream double chocolate or coconut puff 4-bar box. And that 13-bar box that Scotty was talking about is at Sam's Club because, at those warehouse places, you can buy in bulk. You can get brownie batter or churro. You'll thank us later. So make sure you go to built.com. You go to Walmart or you go to Sam's Club. You won't regret it. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. We're talking about this 6-2 blowout loss to the Ottawa Senators in the first half of this back-to-back. Do you want to talk? There's so much to break down in this game. Do you want to talk about individual players? Do you want to talk about the whole, like, offense as a whole, defense as a whole, goalie? Like, there's so many different directions you can go with this horrid performance that we just witnessed.
Yeah, I think honestly, let's just let's talk Hellberg. Let's get goaltending out of the way. I thought, honestly, I was ready to come on here and talk about how I really felt like he was stepping up in a big moment and was really good, like 12 minutes into, probably even longer, probably like the first period, maybe even the first period and like the first couple of minutes of period two. I was really impressed. And then he let in the one, I think it was Claude Giroux, like softy, just in the 5-hole. On the it was the one where Claude was like just hanging by the blue line and there was no defense back and he just had a breakaway and whatever, and he didn't even make a move. That stick got hooked and the puck just kept going forward and just found the back of the net. And after that goal, it was just that then kind of the free for all happened. But in the same breath, and I'm not trying to be goalie
40
defender,
plus
like
shots.
stereotypical. He didn't look good for 2/3 of the hockey game. I'm not trying to defend him whatsoever, but this can be a perfect storm situation, and the defense was honestly putrid. Like this was, I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, I know that Hellberg, that's the most shots he's ever faced in an NHL game in his entire career, and on top of that, they had 30 through 2. I'm pretty sure Ottawa had around 30 shots on net through 2 periods. Like, this was just a free for all, and there was very little resistance in front of the net. And on top of all of that, I guess I'm just kind of ranting at this point, but like then there was in the second period, obviously, reffing or not, you couldn't stay out of the box, and it was just. At one point, they had like 3 power plays in a row, almost in unison, like back to back to back. It was just really a really, really rough game when it came to preventing offensive pressure from Ottawa.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's a yes and type situation when you're talking about Magnus Hellberg. Like he wasn't great, but also he was not helped out at all whatsoever by the defense in front of him. I think I mentioned it in segment 1, but I believe the Red Wings gave up at least 6 breakaways, partial, full breakaways. The Claude Giroux goal was one of them. I can give him a little bit of slack on the Claude Giroux goal because he was expecting a move, and then the hook from Lindstrom that was going to be a penalty shot. I don't know if you saw the arm go up.
Yeah.
Threw him off, and Giroux lost the puck on it, which honestly, I don't mind Lindstrom taking that penalty shot in that situation. But it threw him off, but it was still a softie. Absolutely. Then the Brady Tkachuk goal. You can't allow a glove side goal, far side from the top of the circle. That's a softie. I would even argue the Shabbat goal was a bit of a softie because Magnus Hellberg, while it was again another partial breakaway, kind of had a tell where he dropped his shoulder
Yeah.
and he started to make a move to the left that short side open. So Magnus Hellberg and credit Ryan Hanna from Winged Wheel, he tweeted it out. He said it looked like a Jekyll and Hyde performance where he looked good through the first half of the game, but then the wheels fell off. And again, not helped out at all by the players in front of him with all the breakaways, odd man rushes, all just the total number of shots. But, he didn't necessarily stand on his head either. You want to talk about how he looked good in the first half of the game, and he made some big saves. I won't take that away from him, but mechanically, he was a little bit scary to me because there was a lot of saves he made where it felt like he was there by luck, not out of anticipation. I mentioned this about Andrei Vasilevsky, and I'm not expecting Magnus Hellberg to be Andrei Vasilevsky. That would be unfair. But Andrei Vasilevsky, in that 40-plus save shutout against the Detroit Red Wings, felt as if he always was anticipating where that puck was going to go. He had an idea of the direction it was going to take off the stick of the Red Wings players. He always felt like he was in the right spot at the right time. Magnus Hellberg, it felt like, oh crap, I'm out of position. I got to make a save. Then also, we got to stop Magnus Hellberg from playing the puck. Every single time he played the puck, it felt like he was getting caught.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, especially in the second period specifically. That's one of the first rules, one of the cardinal sins is player not puck, and certainly was playing the puck a lot.
And he got hurt for it earlier in the season too. What was it his last start? The Red Wings bailed him out. I think it was the game against Calgary where or was it the second game against Vancouver? I cannot remember. But the very first goal of the game against the Red Wings was a gimme because he played the puck and he played it poorly. He gave it away and they ended up scoring. So his ability to play the puck has not been there. And it just highlights what I said yesterday on my crossover with Locked On Sens is like, despite Magnus Hellberg's decent statistics to this point, backup goaltending is still an issue. And it was an issue again in this game.
Yeah,
look, I mean, backup.
Right. There's a whole greater grand picture conversation that I'm sure we'll have as the week goes on and once we start playing some more games and are getting further and further into the season. But just because the Red Wings went on a heater and put themselves in the playoff conversation and contention doesn't mean that all of the problems they had before the heater went away. Like
far from it.
They still need a consistent goal scorer. They still need better defense, and they still need backup goaltending. And then going on a West Coast road trip heater to put yourself into the playoff conversation does not eliminate those, even though they have proven that they can still win in spite of them. And we're obviously still rooting for them to go further and whatever. I'm not trying to be like doom and gloom, but problems don't just disappear overnight like that. So yeah, I 100% agree.
And while we're talking about the back half of the ice, I mean, obviously we mentioned defensively overall, tons of odd man rushes, but notably Philip Hronik, who took a bad interference call that led to a power play goal. He did have an assist in the Perron's goal for what it's worth, but the interference he took was clearing away an interference. The puck was right by him. He decided not to play the puck and just pulled up the player.
Yeah,
instead,
that one was no bad reffing on that one.
And then about 3 of the odd man rushes and power breakaways were on his side. And then Gustav Lindstrom, it felt like every other power play was with him. And,
yeah,
Jordan Osterley.
One was on two. One or two were just like really bad line changes. And then, all the rest were on that side.
Yeah, it's just Phil Pronis.
I'm not sure
really
I've ever
games.
seen. Well, that's not true. I've certainly not true. And over the last couple of years of Red Wings hockey, I was about to be super dramatic, but maybe this season, I'm not sure I've seen that many just like easy breakaways, like one pass, a Sens player on the blue line, and it's a wide open. Like I don't. That was remarkable. I'm not. For as much heat as we give this defense and have given this defense consistently throughout the year, that this was even different than like what we're used to. That was just remarkable how many times that happened in the course of 60 minutes.
I'm just so sick of the revolving door at number 60. The Osterley, Haig, Lindstrom revolving door.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. None of those guys. I mean, if I'm being honest, Osterley was the most solid, not saying he was solid, but the most solid of those three guys, and now he's on the IR. Haig and Lindstrom they've been lackluster this season, to say the least. And if this wasn't the Red Wings defensive core, they wouldn't be on the NHL roster almost anywhere else, right? I don't feel like, with the exception of the teams that are tanking hardcore. I mean, this is just, it feels like every time Lindstrom, I don't like ragging on guys. I don't like ragging on individual guys, but it just feels like whenever that third pair defenseman, that third pair is out there, and Olimata, unfortunately, is a part of that problem as well. And I don't know how much of that is Olimata's fault and just like the team players he's playing with, but it feels like anytime that third pair is out there, you're liable to give up a breakaway or an odd man rush or a scoring chance. And it's getting frustrating because I know there are players in Grand Rapids that are ready to help. I don't know how if they're like NHL ready, but they got to be better than what we're trotting out there every single night. It's just,
Well, yeah, maybe a philosophical kind of looking ahead question later in the week, but I don't know about you, but I've been asked on socials a lot over the last couple of weeks. Actually, it was multiple people in my tweet where I was like, "Hey, I have no power. Ask me questions." At the end of last week, I had a couple different people ask me about, if the Wings are if the Wings are close to the playoffs later in the year, does that make you more or less? What's the word I'm looking for?
likely.
Sure, to bring up Edvinsson or not?
Yeah, I think I saw one of those replies. And you know what, Scotty? I'll give you the answer to that right after this. But
Wow,
first,
that's what in the biz we call a teaser.
I got to talk to you guys today about Athletic Greens. Our next product is a partner. Our next partner is a product you got to use
Boom.
literally every day. I always get those two mixed up. You start taking AG1 because with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins and minerals, whole food-sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, and contains less than 1 gram of sugar. It costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Athletic Greens is a climate neutral certified company. In 2020, AG purchased carbon credits that supports projects protecting old growth rainforests. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different supplements and pills to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty asked me before the break, while his Twitter followers had asked him on Twitter, and then he asked me before the break if the Red Wings are in a tight playoff hunt, if that makes you more or less likely to call up Simon Edvinsson down the line. Scotty, I think that's a pretty easy, in my opinion, less likely to call up Simon Edvinsson, because why would you want to throw? Here's the thing. If your team's in a playoff hunt, the last thing you want to do is bring up a rookie at that moment in time who could potentially not be ready for the NHL. I'm not saying Simon Edvinsson's not, but one who needs to adjust to the NHL speed, and throw him out there to possibly make morale-crushing mistakes right at the end of the season that could help the team miss a playoff opportunity. When you call up rookies, a lot of the times you're doing so in a position where you're not in a playoff race. If you're in a team that's tight and close down the line, you do what the Red Wings did last year. Not that they were close and tight down the line, but you keep that player in Grand Rapids the entire year like they did with Jonathan Berggren. I feel like calling up Simon Edvinsson, if you're 1 or 2 points out, it is just going to mess with the formula that you got cooking. Because if you're that close down the line, even though I just ranted about how much I loathe that number 6D spot, throwing a rookie to the Wolves like that isn't usually a formula for success, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is an argument for getting meaningful hockey out of the gate, but also only in like 8 to 10 minutes a night. I think that there's certainly a kind of a babying, for lack of a better term, that people are going to be comfortable with, but also getting him experience. I don't know. I don't want to derail. I still want to talk about the game. We still got more points we want to bring up about this game before we get into that. That can be a more fuller conversation and maybe take up a segment or two of a show later in the season. But it was just something interesting. And you brought up the kind of the sixth D man and how much it struggled this year, whoever is filling in for it. And it kind of just jogged my memory of that. But yeah, really the biggest thing in this game, it's remarkable to me how defensively it was, and I kind of said this already, I guess I don't want to just keep looping in circles, but like it was unbelievable to me how many times it was just so easy to make one pass for Ottawa and then they were just past everybody. You know what I mean? Like it was one pass to somebody that was already standing on the blue line pretty much, and then that was it. And I like in-game adjustments are a thing. I know that they're difficult, but like I'm not sure how that was able to just keep happening. I don't know. I don't want to just keep running in circles, but it was a very, very frustrating hockey game to watch.
Yeah, it was. And it wasn't just defensively either. Offensively as well, Scotty. I thought the team struggled mightily to get anything going.
I mean, they were getting outshot 20 by the end of the second period. Like,
Well-
and that's, yes, that a lot to do with the defense, but we also only had like what 13, 15 shots through two. Like it's
Well, it wasn't
both
just the
ways.
shots. I mean, to get shots on net, you have to carry the puck into the offensive zone, and they couldn't do that.
Correct.
So
yeah.
their lone method of zone entry in this game, unless you're Dylan Larkin, who has the ability to skate through all the defenders, and he did that like 2 or 3 times, is to dump and chase. And the problem with dump and chase is when you're against a team that knows how to play and defend against that, you don't get the puck back on the chase. As the Red Wings could not, and this is where you missed Rasmussen again, the Red Wings could not win the corner battles. They dumped the puck in and they would fail. They would just either straight up fail to be the first player there and just give possession to Ottawa, who would then proceed to break out again,
Right.
or they would challenge for the puck in the corner and lose the battle and then proceed again to the back out, to the breakout for the Ottawa Senators. Or on those slim opportunities where the Red Wings would win the corner battle and get possession of the puck, their offensive play was so painfully predictable that the Ottawa Senators defended it easily. A lot of the time was force the turnover behind the net or get the puck in the corner and just throw it to the front. Every single time the Ottawa Senators picked it off. Every single time, because that's all the Red Wings would do.
Yeah, well, the entire offensive production came from either power plays or like one-time breakaways, and we only had one of those, two.
Yeah.
Well, one, yeah, one like really, really legitimate one-man break, and Burt took advantage. Good for him. Nice little, nice goal there. I didn't think he looked awful, which is kind of the bar for this game for a lot of people, but
He didn't look awful.
yeah, but yeah, like that was the entire offensive production. Was the power play I thought looked actually really good. It's just they weren't on the ice very often. And then the breakaway. Like on even strength, which was a majority of your game, it was I mean, there was nothing. No traction, no consistency, zero not even offensive pressure, just zone entry period. We were not even getting to having the ability to have offensive pressure or like have sets or like try and run, formations like plays or something. Like it's you didn't even have a zone entry for, I don't know, 70% of the hockey game. So.
Okay. So before I move on to the final thing, Scott, I do want to give a shout out to one David Perron, who finally broke his dry spell, finally scored a goal in the power play. He's honestly been snake bitten. He's had a lot of really good opportunities. He got his 15th goal of the year on a power play goal that gave the Red Wings a 2-1 lead. Good for him. Not a lot of good things to say, so I'm going to end it there. Jake Walman is a freaking warrior. Blocked like 4 or 5 shots,
Great.
just kept skating. Jake Walman, extend that man 8 years. I don't give a crap. Just give it to him. He's been fantastic. He's probably the number 1 star on the Red Wings side of things in this game with just how gritty he has been. And he blocked a lot. He set a career high in shot attempts against the Lightning, and he set a career high in blocks tonight against the Ottawa Senators. So he is him. He is legitimate. Okay. So here's the question. 1, how do you rebound? You have a huge game tomorrow now. Well, you thought this was a big game. Tomorrow is even bigger now because you lost the first game.
Yeah, correct.
You do have Husso starting, but also we're looking at a situation where whether you stand pat or sell shifts very greatly game by game leading up to the deadline. Tomorrow's your last game before the deadline. If you lose tomorrow, do you shift back from standing pat to selling, or are you still trying to run it back?
Is this the last game before the deadline?
Tomorrow is the last game before the deadline. I'm fairly certain.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I'm not buying.
Sorry, they do have one more game.
Okay.
Game against the Kraken is the last game before the deadline on Thursday. Deadline's on Friday.
Okay. So you're giving yourself a day there.
Yes.
So your mind is probably pretty made up pre-Kraken game then, to be honest with you.
I mean, losing back-to-back games against a division rival, another team that's fighting for a wild card spot, that's a huge blow to your playoff odds.
Yeah, 100%. Uh, it's tough. I mean, really, this conversation only in a vacuum matters to Bert. Like,
Well, there's been some more news in air quotes on that front, as I'm pretty sure. Oh, God, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but one of those NHL beat writers posted, it might have been like Jagger, but I can't quite remember. I'm sorry, guys. I should have had it ready, but emotions are high. Reported that the Red Wings are listening to offers on Tyler Bertuzzi again because of the hauls that Tanner Jeannot and Tanner Jeannot pretty much specifically has gotten this offseason or this trade deadline. I mean, the amount they got for a guy that has produced so little this year is crazy, but that's solely because he had finishing last year and he brings a physical presence. So if this team loses, I mean, are we just going back to assuming Bertuzzi is gone?
You know what? Golly. I mean, I'm sure we'll have that conversation again as we get closer to deadline day, and I'm sure we'll do a lot of deadline coverage. But I mean, immediately, I don't want to lose one game and like
fall apart.
Yeah, just like completely, like hit the panic button and like have the sirens going off and everything. If they win tomorrow or today, and man, I think you really needed both. You really, really.
But that's
needed
exactly
both.
it. Like that is how impactful these two games are in my mind. Is that these two, and I said it with the Sens guys. These two games can make or break both teams' seasons if it goes 2-0 one way or the other.
Yeah,
If it goes a
agreed.
sweep one way or the other, then it could make or break one or either team's seasons.
I'll say this. Like I said earlier, I think that the buy or sell thing really only big time matters to Bert. A lot of the expiring people, several of them at least, we want back, and we're not looking to move necessarily. So I think that, and that's not to say Bert can't fall into that category too, but I think that he's just the biggest name of all of the easy candidates to shop. So I think that it really only affects him, at least in a definitely the biggest magnitude. But I also, and I've held this belief throughout this entire time, I don't think we're buying. So like I think that it's really either I don't want to be maybe I don't want to be this cut and dry, but is it really just are you gonna stand pat or trade Bertuzzi? Is it maybe just gonna be as simple as that? Like or the next is the next two games, maybe even just the next game, going to single-handedly determine if you're trading Bert or if you're not making really any moves?
But that's the thing, though, right? Like trading Bertuzzi is a huge indication of what Yzerman wants this team to do. I mean, because Bertuzzi is such a key piece to that offense. Without him, you're basically saying, okay, you're not making the playoffs. We're reloading for next year. Keeping him, you're saying, go for it. I mean, that move alone determines what this team's trying to do.
I'm not saying direction. I agree with that. I'm just saying from the like moves that you would make at the trade deadline. I don't know. It might be. I mean, people want Walman back. Obviously, Larkin is trying to come back.
Walman, absolutely.
Right. So I think that it really is just going to come down to maybe it's just the fate of Tyler Bertuzzi, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because like I'm not chomping at the bit to trade guys like Pusey and Oscar Sundquist because I also don't think you'd be getting a whole lot back for them. Right, so it's like, and we're the Red Wings are at a phase now of the rebuild where I believe they want prospects rather than picks because they're trying to get better now, especially in the near future.
You're talking about like 6th round, 7th round picks.
Yeah, despite the fact, I mean, Pew Suter's been on a heater. He got another assist in this game, and kudos to him as that fourth line continues to click. Oscar Sundquist also got an assist. But I don't know, man. That's where I'm at. In terms of rebounding and the game tonight against the Ottawa Senators, how do you respond? Do you come out and try to meet them with the same energy they brought to you, or do you try and continue to play your game and instead just this time not get shaken off of it? Like, what's the better route to take?
You can't get bullied again and win a hockey game. Like, you can't. They have not shown the ability all year to get dominated in the physicality department and still put up a win. Every single time we've come on this show this year and been like, wow, they got bullied in this game. They got dominated on the score sheet too. So I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to be like it's impossible to win. Obviously, any team can win any game, but if they were to match that energy, it would be. I don't know. That's a tough road to victory to kind of not play your game and try to outbully them. I would love to be wrong, but that seems like a difficult road. I think you probably just need to try what you've been doing during the win streak and just not get rattled when you're getting hit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, guys. This is the reason why I was so hesitant to buy in, and I tweeted it out today. I was really excited for a Red Wings regular season Red Wings game for the first time in a long time, like excluding obviously like opening day, because the implications were there. There were implications to be had, and that was exciting. And I got burned, and I get very emotional after wins and losses. I understand that. I definitely have the penchant to kind of flip flop to either extreme. And I get that. I mean, we record right after games, so of course I'm going to be emotional. Scotty tends to be the more logical of the two of us, I feel like, in a lot of instances. But like this is why I was so hesitant to buy in, because games like this do happen and they burn you when you get your hopes up high. But thankfully, they have a game again tonight to rectify that and stay alive. They have got, like we talked about, again, this was a must win. The game tonight is now must-win hockey.
Right. I mean, like we said, like you alluded to just a couple of minutes ago, this game could single-handedly change the course of the season. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but this game could determine what happens the remainder of the week as far as, trajectory of front office and trade deadline and everything. So,
because if you win tonight and then you win against the Kraken, now you're right back in it.
Yeah, you're comfortably right back in there. Yeah, absolutely, and still have games in hand on people.
Exactly. So, frustrating loss. We'll shake it off. We'll come back tomorrow, hopefully talking about a victory. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball.
My final thought is I'm happy to have Scotty back. So
glad to be back
tomorrow.
Baby.
Same time, same place. It's your team every day.